And we're live. Oh my God. We are live. This is the most exciting thing ever. How is everybody? Welcome to Crossing the Streams.
Crossing the Streams.
We got a crew for you today. We got a crew. We're tight today with 4. We got an awesome crew. We kicked everyone else out, and we brought in Fred and we brought in Jess. But as tradition would have it, the guest sings the theme song. Jess has already been here, so she is going to let Fred go solo. And here we go.
Get it?
Okay, here's a story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me. They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff and Ron and Sal and Bob. And there's Howard. They call it Crossing Streams. And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we crossed the streams.
We crossed the streams.
We crossed the streams.
That's the way we do it here.
Cross the streams.
Yeah, that's it. That was pretty awesome.
Rock on.
Single man there. That's a voice of a single man.
That's the voice of a man who will remain single. All right.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to Crossing the Streams, the ultimate show of people talking about shows that you should be streaming. This is so exciting. We've got some amazing guests today. We got some amazing shows that we're going to go over. We got a tease for next week's show, which is going to be incredible and off the normal path. Tons of great stuff. But first, we're going to introduce our guests. Let our guests kind of tell you who they are. We got special return guest, our first return guest ever, Jess Paul, that you can find everywhere.
I'm the first return guest ever.
First return guest.
Wow. I feel so honored. I didn't even know that before I came here. So I'm Jess Paul, also known as This Is Jess Paul on all the platforms. I'm an actor. I'm a YouTuber. And then after that, I make fake food. And then I entertain myself and others. And I try to just spread as much fun into the world.
You should see her fake pies. They're outlandish.
She makes great fake pies.
Fake pies.
Here's a pie piece. These are all blank. I spent all yesterday printing hundreds.
I think I asked you last show how many people have actually accidentally taken a bite of one of your props.
I couldn't tell you. They didn't live to tell me. So,
but it's so amazing. So you print them? You have a 3D printer?
Wow, I've never gotten that before. No. So I have silicone molds, and my computer's sitting on one right now. And I originally sculpted this out of clay. Like this was a clay sculpture, and then I cast it silicone mold, and then I run it in memory foam.
Wow.
Ah,
yeah.
Nice.
Is anything on you silicone?
Seriously, Fred, she trotted that one out there. We were waiting for someone to knock that out, right?
It was
I'm the guy to do it.
All right. Well, for everyone paying attention, again, this is Jess Paul, and unfortunately, this is Fred Carroll.
Nice.
Unfortunately.
Fred is a good friend of mine, fellow podcaster. Fred, tell everyone about all your cool shows. You got a bunch of really great stuff.
So I am Fred from Within the Head of Fred. It is a marginally listened to show, mostly by Jewish people. And I have a lot of Jewish friends now, and I'm very happy. But yeah, we're there every Saturday. Every Saturday we do that. I also do the Cinephiles Flashback, which is every Wednesday. And my newest one is Ending the Stigma, which is not meant for this show, but it's a suicide prevention, all that stuff. So I'm a do-gooder and I'm an asshole.
That's awesome.
All in one.
That's a good combo.
Package.
Yeah.
That is a good combo.
All in one package.
Jess, Jerry thinks next episode should be an intervention.
You're not supposed to tell me that it's going to be an intervention before I enter the room, so I already know.
I'm hung up on do good or asshole. That's a rare commodity.
It is.
You don't find that very often.
Yeah, it's different. It's good for your soul if you're.
It's got to be exhausting.
It provides balance.
It does, but I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist, so I don't care overall.
He's an atheist, but he loves hanging out with the Jews. He loves hanging out with us. So the hey, real quick. So Jerry, who was just up, he's a super fan, and I just kind of wanted to do a shout out to him because he's such a heavy promoter of the show.
Wow!
But this is his Instagram. This is his art.
Wow!
And this is just some. of his
that
art.
is so good.
Wait, what do you mean this is his art? Like he
drew that. He drew those. Yeah. And if you go to his Instagram, that's his Instagram.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Shout
out to Jerry.
He does some stuff on whatever you call it when you pay someone to do stuff. So
where he's commissioned.
Yeah, something like that. You can. But anyway, check it out. Check out his Instagram. It's
Jerry. That's hardcore, man. I didn't know who we were dealing with.
Jerry.
I know that we have only the talented people stop by crossing the streams. Man. So just so everyone knows what we do here, we talk about shows. So if you last episode, this is episode 10, but in episode 9, we talked about the Mad About You reboots, which we had some disagreement on, but I was a big fan of. We had the Great Buck Howard, which was a movie that Bob had seen. Love Wagon, which I'm not really sure if we positively reviewed that or not. But it's definitely an interesting thing. Sal was all into Sinatra. He was all into that. And Roz was a big fan of McMillions. So those are the cool things there. And this episode, just to kind of give you a sneak peek and work on those transitions there. We got Money Heist, Atypical, Rescue Me, and Kingdom coming up. So those are all some cool stuff that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But let's go to, look at that, Jerry. Hey, thanks. I didn't tell him I was going to do that. Surprise. Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Mike. Welcome to the show.
And then Mick said hi earlier. So he's
who gives a shit?
This is interactive.
Mick.
Fred's just jealous because people talk on our show.
People actually watch your show. That's what I'm jealous about.
So what do we got here? The Super Bowl. We just had the Super Bowl and the ads. I'm not into sports, but I can talk about the ads. Any particular ones pop out for you guys? I'll tell you which one I love just to kick it off. That love the Will Ferrell Norway ones for GM for the electric cars. The teasers, everything about that was amazing.
Sweden.
I know. There's just nothing he can't do that isn't just funny the way he does it. It's
his last movie was not funny though.
No.
What was his last movie?
His last movie sucked.
That's it right there.
With Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
I didn't even see that one.
Ski resort one. Horrible.
He's out of his classic movie phase. You have to go back a little bit for those. But were there any commercials that kind of popped or you didn't like?
Well, I like the Bruce Springsteen one better now that I know he was drunk when he did it. That makes it better.
Changes things.
That changes the way I think of him now. Now he's back in New Jersey because he had gotten away. He's wearing a fedora. He that's not Jersey. But now he's drunk and he's driving. That's Jersey. That is Jersey. So I'm back on the wagon.
Nice.
That's funny. Ron
yeah, I did. So I loved all the classic Super Bowl commercials, like the Budweiser frogs and all that shit. But no, the Snickers, man, they're really up in their game with their commercials recently. And the one that was pre-Super Bowl with the guy asking his girlfriend what's wrong, and she looks at him and goes, nothing. And the commercial just ends with him staring at her. Like every guy in the world can absolutely align with exactly that moment. And it's time for a Snickers was one of the commercial, man. And that's fantastic. So congratulations to the Snickers people. Great commercial.
Yeah. Jerry says, I love the streaker getting into the end zone before KC best ad for prison. Yes. We got some hellos and then
Jerry,
Jess, you're going to go.
Jerry,
Jason says hello. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Jason, big fan of the Jews. Thank you for coming to our show.
Nice. I was going to tell Jerry that there's a Twitter follow-up to that guy about him getting tackled and beaten up.
Hi, Lisa. Yeah. So, Jess, what about you? What commercials?
So I was trying to think of the most memorable Super Bowl commercial that I've ever thought of. Like, what's the first one that comes to mind? And I actually thought of the most confusing one to me, because we're going all the way back. Like, I've been alive for like 30 years now, and so I remember one of the older ones where my dad would repeat it all the time. My dad used to like to just falsetto repeat like commercials and songs. It was adorable. And he would always go, we had a baby eats a boy. And so he would do that. But one, I didn't know what he was referencing until a couple of years later. Then I got the premise. But by the time I got the premise, I had no idea what collect calling was. Not only that, but I thought that the commercial, or my dad was saying, we had a baby pizza boy. So it's years later now, and I've learned what collect calling is, and I learned that commercial was not for Pizza Hut. It was the most confusing thing of my growing up. But that one,
so freaking young.
I know.
How old did she say she was?
I think she's like,
she didn't. Just, you can figure it out.
I think she's like, I'm 30. I just said I was 30.
Oh.
Yeah, I have kids older than that.
I have underwear older than that.
That is tiring. That drives me crazy. I don't like you, Jess. You're too young.
I'm sorry. Well, I'll take my zombie Korean film. And
I'll tell you what commercial annoyed that I hated was
Cheetos. That's a good topic.
I hated the Cheetos commercial with Ashton Kutcher, and
they couldn't find any celebrity that was any more than tone deaf. Like, come on. Actually, I just thought been that hard.
It just, even like, it wasn't even that part. It was just like, it just
they didn't look like they wanted to be there. Like, no one looked like they wanted to be there.
I know. I'm sorry.
Who else was in the Cheetos commercial? There was
Shaggy. It was just the three of them.
Oh, that's right. No, but there wasn't there some hot model, hot actress? Oh, it was Mila Kunis. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I can't even remember any of these commercials.
Yeah.
Don't you just watch them? Like, there was a Wayne's World Uber Eats.
Yeah.
I'm so
Mike Myers looked a little old.
Yeah, it's enough.
My only claim to fame, I thought the Scott's commercial was good, and the kind of the guy that comes out in the beginning, Matt Broggerbarger or something like that is his name. He's a comedian. I worked with him. That was my claim to fame.
Somebody you met,
Mr. Squats.
I worked with them for a weekend, and Shaggy was we got Casey Ryan Plott. So
hey, CRP baby.
So just so everyone knows, Casey Ryan Plott, for Jess, I know you've been here, but Fred, I know you watch the show, but when Casey's around, we work really hard to try and convince him.
Sometimes you're convinced, sometimes not.
Hey, Christian Fletcher, what's up, buddy? So we try and do it. So the Scots one I thought was really good. Oh, but you know which one I thought was the best? Like the best is I thought the Alexa one, where she's dreaming that Alexa is Michael B. Jordan.
All right.
That one was good.
I thought that was so great. So great. Okay. All right. So before I forget, we do want to pitch one thing, which is next week. Next week's show is shows that were canceled Tuesday. We've been canceled.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I had to jump my contract just got renewed.
We're talking about shows that were canceled. So we're doing a little different format. We're not talking as long about each show. It'll be kind of 2-3 minutes. And so we'll be able to really incorporate everyone who's watching that want to kind of do things. If there's any of them you want us to mention, just email me at the email that's up on the screen there, jeff@jeffisfunny.com. And we're going to kind of go through a bunch of stuff that we thought were just canceled well before their time.
Oh, you know what's funny about that, Jeff, is that people are remarkably passionate about shows that they like that were canceled. Like it's amazing how serious they become. This was like they really lobby the networks to get these shows back on. And it's
how about can we talk about shows that we wish were canceled like way earlier on? Like is that a possibility?
We'll do a show on it. All right. Well, let's get into the shows, shall we? Let's talk about the first show of the day is Atypical.
I'm excited to hear about this one.
Atypical is on Netflix, And I was sitting at home, and my friend Jeff Blackman texts me and he says, "Have you seen Atypical?" And I said, "No, I've not." It's like one of those shows that kind of came on and you see it because you're like, "Oh, Michael Rappaport." You know, there's some names in it that you recognize, but you kind of don't watch it. That's how I felt about Never Have I Ever, which we talked about in an earlier episode, which I still say is one of the best series. One of Mindy Kaling's show is one of the best shows I like ever. Like it was, but it was one of those. I remember them paying for all the ads and watching all that. So Atypical is kind of it's a coming of age story. It's about a family with and their son is on the autism spectrum, and it's him coming into his own independence in high school. So he's starting to have a girlfriend, and he eventually has sex, and he's dating, and it goes real deep into it goes real deep into what it must be like for a family with a child with autism, and just the day-to-day of it. In this particular story, in this particular family, Sam, that's the son, played by Keir Gilchrist, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. Brilliant. But let me just say first, love Michael Rappaport. Michael Rappaport. When I watch this show, my least favorite character, and I hate to say it, is Jennifer Jason Leigh as the mom. That character gets on my. I don't know. I just don't connect with that character. However, the son played by Keir, the daughter played by Bridget Lundy Payne, who, which is funny, it was young Bill, or Bill's daughter in the latest Bill and Ted movie. She's probably like, when I watch her, and I always turn to my wife, I'm like, I think she's the greatest actress I think I've ever seen. I can't get over her. The story, as good as Michael Rappaport is, and then there's another person that plays Sam's friend, Nick Dodani, who is his friend where they work. And he's sort of like his mentor and friend. And it's a beautiful relationship because he just gets Sam. He gets the autism. He doesn't see a kid with autism. They connect, and they're friends. And, there's the heartbreaking moments where he's at school and the kids don't get him, or he has a moment where the sounds and all the things that I think, may trigger someone with autism. I'm saying these things knowing I don't know that much about it. So I'm just kind of basing it on the show. So, but it's incredible, and it's really mostly the story about the kids. And the kids, it's like the greatest group of kid actors, and I didn't name all of them, but that I think I've ever seen in a show. It's like, that's why I keep watching. And I thought season 1 was great, and then it was one of those shows where season 2 and season 3, it just got better and better.
And this is the last season.
There's one more season coming out, season 4.
Season 4.
That hasn't come out yet.
And are those 10 episode seasons, like for Netflix?
I think 10 or 12.
Yeah, okay. 10 or 12. Yeah, I can't remember.
10 or 12,
you watched it too, Fred. What did you think?
Can I disagree with your Jennifer Jason Leigh, first of all?
Yeah.
Because I think you're misrepresenting it in the sense of, I think her character is designed to be that. That's what you're seeing. It's not her acting or anything, because she's a fine actor. I mean, actor, whatever you want to call her. But she's a dull woman in the show. She's very dull in it. And I believe the show takes place near me, where I live in Connecticut. I think it's a Connecticut-based show.
I think it is, because I think they mentioned it in my first reaction.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's where Fred lives.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's where Yale is and me. So that's about it. But
Jeff, do you? Sorry.
I agree with you, Fred, on Jennifer Jason Leigh. She's a wonderful actress. I think it is the character in the show, like where she's kind of this needy person that is a little overbearing and stuff like that. I think probably my reaction is her being a good actress. It just makes
and
her...
she's overmatched. She's overmatched by Michael Rappaport. I think the way it's set up, the premise of the show, he is the do-all dad that is all out for his autistic son. And I think she's missing that, because without giving too much away, the affair and all that stuff that gets tied into the show, she's chasing her own dreams at the same time. And Michael Rappaport is truly the father supporting his child.
That's so interesting when you have a character who it like might be really well executed, but very kind of disliked in general, just for what the character is. That happens enough. And I always think about what it would be like to play a character do you like go all out, do it as good as possible, make this person, a little bit unlikable, as unlikable as they're supposed to be. And then you do a good job and they don't like you.
Yeah. The kid, Keir Gilchrist, who plays the autistic child, kid, not child, but boy, isn't autistic. He's not autistic, but he says in the research I did, he does mention that he doesn't even practice these roles. He goes for it 100%, just like Jess was saying. He chooses all his roles and he just jumps into them. And he says he nails it 95% of the time.
Is he like is he method guy? What do
you mean by that?
Well, instead of sitting in front of a mirror practicing how to be autistic, he just imagines what it's like to be autistic.
Sure.
And just jumps into the character. And that's in all his movies, he said. He doesn't really practice his parts. He just jumps in.
I had to look it up because he's so good in this role. I couldn't believe
that he wasn't.
I'm very interested.
That he was acting. Yeah. The Jerry, I just want to say, his nephew has autism, so he says the show is pretty spot on. I think they won an award actually for autism representation. Wow. I do want to disagree with something you said, Fred, which was the premise of the show was that Michael Rappaport's character was extremely disconnected and almost in denial of the fact that he had an autism son until the events of like what we're watching, which is now he's in, I think, a freshman or a sophomore.
Well, yeah, but I think
the mom was the one that went found out their son was autistic, spent those 17 years or whatever it was going 1,000% in and almost forgetting that she had a husband. And in some cases, which I think they interestingly play out, is that how it impacts the other siblings in terms of being a second.
But that is it's very realistic, and the writing is done brilliantly.
Brilliant.
They brilliantly wrote it, and you're right. I did fail on that part of it, and I don't admit that you're right very often or that I'm wrong. But chasing those things, it is brilliantly done. They did a great job of, and it's very common they did it right. A man does tend to not believe their children are this, and this. And a woman will, and all this, without getting into the sexism part.
I'm glad you guys are talking about this because, and I'm just going to admit this, and I hope this doesn't make me sound more of a dick than I already am, but like shows about people with developmental disabilities and autism, like to me, they worthwhile though they may be, they sound exhausting to me. Like they sound like
I was just kind of thinking that like it's a little bit of a like a shelf up, like a step up to kind of dive into that and get a little bit upset.
That's right. So I'm glad to hear from the listeners and from you guys who are passionate about this that it's actually that it's a compelling watch and that you get into it, and the fact that it's a season of episodes rather than a movie. Listen, I would never normally ever watch anything like that unless it frankly is with Johnny Depp, who does What's He Doing, Gilbert Grape and Benny and June and Edward Scissorhands, and he does it so well that for him he's the only person that kind of is exempt from that.
Yeah, but you got to be careful, Ron, with first of all autism and what eating Gilbert Grape is. That's mental challenge.
That's true.
Versus
it's true.
Autism has spectrums of brilliance. Absolute brilliance.
You're 100% right.
So there's so many levels.
Fred. So my point is this.
Defense, he did say, I'm very possibly going to regret saying what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just say this. I'm glad you guys are talking about it because it's a better show. I could immediately tell than I would have given credit for. So I'm glad you guys are.
It's one of those shows I feel good that I watched it.
Let's
just say that. And here, let's get to some of these. Jason Taylor, the autism isn't a joke, which is refreshing. It isn't. It's like you almost like it. You become like it's really interesting. And as he learns to deal with certain things along the way, you feel so good about it.
But you do laugh. You do laugh at him.
I mean,
times.
Michael Rappaport. Yeah.
It's not the joke, but.
Right.
Sometimes it's the situation he puts himself in. He's laughing too, though. It's autism isn't some downer that is meant to be, you still got to view it from
right
all different angles.
Yeah. I think he meant it wasn't like
you're right. They don't treat
it wasn't belittling it.
Right. It's realistic. It's realistic.
Right. Mick needs to rewatch it with his wife. Get on that Mick. An actor's ability to make you hate them is commendable. Think Joffrey and
that's the first one that comes to mind.
I don't hate Jennifer Jason Leigh, and
I heard hate.
I just find it annoying. I hated Joffrey, but I knew I was supposed to hate Joffrey.
I friggin' hate
Joffrey.
Joffrey. I mean?
How about
I wanted to like Jennifer Jason Leigh. I didn't want to dislike any of the characters.
Although her sex scene in Fast Times at Ridgemont High is not very good. She wasn't a good actress then. No. Jennifer Jason Leigh. So I'll equal it up with you.
Okay. Anyway, and then one last thing, just so I can consider this a success. Boom. Casey Ryan plot is Rapavinced. Michael Rappaport, who is, everyone I think knows him from something. He was Phoebe's boyfriend in Friends. He was in Deep Blue Sea. He was in True Romance. He was in A Stand-Up Guy and My Man is a Loser, which were both written and directed
I'm thinking of the right person.
Directed by my friend Mike Young, who you can hear in episode 38 of Live from Detroit, the Jeff Jaworski
episode. It's a great episode. You guys should listen to it.
So that was me. Subtle plug. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. All right. Let's talk another show, shall we? All right, what do we got? So next up is I got this. This is Dennis Leary classic.
A new classic, yes.
Yeah, new classic. And Fred's going to talk us through Rescue Me.
Yay, Fred's going to talk you through. So first of all, I should say that I picked this, but I have problems with this at the same time.
Do it. Give it to us. Give it the dirty.
Rescue Me is very similar to what Jess was just talking about, where she said, let's talk about shows that should have been canceled sooner. Mm-hmm. This falls into that category because the last 2 seasons of it I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to read this like you do in church, Jeff.
Tarantino.
I'm going to start at the back and go forward. but just I'll get this off my chest. The last 2 seasons, every episode jumps the shark somewhere. Every single episode. And it's frustrating, but I love it. But I love to hate it for some reason. But getting into it, Dennis Leary, he was on my radar very early on from his Boston years and everything when I was very young. And I find him to be an engaging actor. Now, the show is brilliantly written. I don't know why he took it to New York, but I do know why, because of 9/11. And I questioned if they started this, if this was a little soon. I mean, this is 3 years after 9/11. They really jumped into it.
Yeah.
And I question if it's too soon because they use it deep. And it gets crazy at times because parts of it with him seeing ghosts and stuff, I get it, but they really overdo it. Am I supposed to be talking about a show I like?
No.
I have the same feelings with Supernatural. So how many seasons did this one have that in the last two were overdone?
I believe it's 6 seasons.
6, okay.
I believe Supernatural had 4,700 seasons.
And when did it end?
I don't know. I think 2004 to 2010. I think it went something like that.
A while back.
Yeah, well, not that long, 10 years. Jess was still almost old enough to drink. But this thing has 3 things I enjoy the most, and that's sex, comedy, and fire. And it's things that make me very happy. And of course, fire is up there. And I couldn't handle, I don't know. He sleeps with people that are in his family. It's just comedy, but the characters in it, they're very one-sided characters. Once they are who they are, they don't grow. There's no growth. Tommy is Tommy, his brother is his brother, and they're just all assholes. All of them are assholes that are really nice guys, and that's probably my attraction to them because that's me. Every day I look in the mirror, I see an asshole that's a nice guy, and I'm attracted to him. and I masturbate every now and then, occasionally.
Jerry wants to know if is that the show where Dennis Leary played the snarky, cynical character who's over dramatic?
Jeff, you might be aware. Wasn't Dennis Leary accused of stealing jokes at one time?
People, I think, feel he took Bill Hicks's routine,
right?
His or at least it might have been his persona,
because they were roommates. I think they were roommates at one point. Yeah, we should delve into that.
Sex, fire, and comedy once could cause an explosion. Mick's all in on Rescue Me.
Nice.
Good old Mick.
So you're not recommending this show. What you're saying, if I'm hearing you right, Fred, is that you watch it early on. When's the cutoff? Season 3, it sounds like.
Well, you know what turns me on the most about it is the fucking song. The opening song to this is so electric that every time I hear it, I need to watch. I'm there. I'm on fire. I feel like it's like Walmart to me, because when I go into Walmart, it's hard to. I go in as John Candy and come out as John Stamos. I feel beautiful.
Yes.
I feel amazing after Walmart. Everybody is so hideous in there, and I feel so good looking. And that's what this show. I knew I had to bring that around for you, Jess.
Yeah. But you go to Walmart, and the self-esteem issues just fade away.
Fred, I'm with you on show music. I think show music is very underrated.
Oh yeah,
I was so into the Peaky Blinders opening music. If you guys, I don't know if you guys watch Peaky Blinders or not.
No.
But like I'm absolutely with you that music can make the show.
Yeah, it's a punk rock song. I can't remember the name of it, like Get Up or something. It's just real energy and the fire and once again, fire.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about when I'm watching the Titans on HBO Max, which I'll talk about in a future episode. But it was like, and it's like it does this thing every and then it pulls in individual characters that it embosses onto masks onto the word Titans, and I'm just like, I'm so in.
But the show does have some very dramatic episodes. Rescue Me. There's an episode where he loses a child, and it's deep. And especially if you're a parent, you could just put yourself into that role. But then they let go of it too soon. They don't carry the arc long enough.
It's like they had something and they just let it go.
Right. I think I should write the next Rescue Me, and Jeff should be the star.
I'm in. So binge-worthy or cringe-worthy?
No, it's been. I still watch it. I watch it whenever it's on. I love to hate it.
All right, I got some good news for you, Fred.
What? What's the news?
Casey Ryan plot, completely with you. Sex, drugs, and fire. He's convinced to rewatch.
Nicely
done.
Rescue Me. Well done, sir.
CRP's
Thank you.
To get CRP on your first time here, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I'm impressed.
CRP doesn't come around for everyone.
I'm impressed.
All right. Should we move on to our next amazing show? Our next amazing show, ladies and gentlemen, is Kingdom.
Kingdom.
Jess is up.
Blood is gonna spill.
Blood is gonna spill on this Netflix.
We're going all the way across a couple ponds to feudal Korea, and the one place in time where you'd never think that there would be a zombie outbreak. It is so much fun. It is so unique. So basically, we start. Where does that story start? We learn pretty quickly that the king has died or might have died. He's sick. He might die. But he is still holding on. He's still holding on. And again, this is feudal Korea. So about like medieval times, medieval times is very broad because couldn't tell you. I tried to look it up and like the dynasty lasted like 1,000 years. So I'm not sure when this takes place exactly. But man, one thing that I learned about this, like I'll get to the zombies in a second because they are fierce. But I realized watching this show, I'm watching the show with my friend Zoe. We're doing Netflix night. We're doing it this Saturday again. And we've been watching 2 series. We'll open with Misfits, which I talked about a couple episodes ago if you guys were there. So we'll open with Misfits because it's funnier. It's really weird to watch Misfits after all the blood and gore and political drama that is Kingdom. But then we'll watch the zombies. So for one thing, I realized about this show when I first watched it, and I felt so stupid, that I could not tell you what any other country was doing besides like British Europe in like medieval. I didn't know what anyone looked like. Can you guys like think about it? Like what did they wear? Did they have kingdoms? Like, you know, so yeah, I mean, feudal. So like, you know, there's basically the poor in the dirt, and then there's these kings, and we'll get to the zombies in a second. But one thing that I was really drawn to, and this just says so much about me, like I didn't even know the Super Bowl happened this week until they said it the next day who won, and I didn't even know who was in it. So yeah, I'm pretty out of touch. But when I saw, you know, some of these costumes that were in this show, that was like even more exciting than like some of the blood and guts and running zombies, like speedy zombies that were in this. Like, could you even imagine what they wore back then? Can I share my screen on this? No, probably not. Right? Oh, I think I can. Can I, Jeff? No?
If you
can
do it,
This will be a first. If you like,
hey, Jess, I want to ask, what is the audio like on that show?
You do have to read it, yeah, because it is Korean. So
right, I noticed. I'm looking now, and I see they actually filmed this right in Seoul, Korea. Yeah, and so they're speaking Korean through the whole thing.
They are speaking Korean. It is a Korean show that Netflix is sharing with the rest, you know, of the world, and so you do have to read. But to be honest, there's a lot of time where you don't have to read anything because, you know, fighting zombies, because there are some of the best choreography. If you are into action, if you're into horror action, I mean, imagine Korea, like, and the prince, the protagonist is the prince who is supposed to take the kingdom. Basically, he's being pushed out. He's kind of like the Jon Snow of feudal Korea right here. Like he's, you know, not wanted, but he might have you know, an actual place in the throne. But since like the father is still alive, he's being kept alive by zombie magic in a very interesting route. Which, I actually just found out. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys if you want to see it, but like the last episode I watched, we got one more until we are on the finale. We're on the finale. We found out.
Who you talking? We just watched Jess go all through all the stages of grief.
Is Jess talking to herself? Who are you
I'm trying
talking
to remember where we are. But basically, I had just found out in the episodes like what the zombie outbreak has come from, because, okay, I'll tell a little bit of the plot in the beginning. Everybody's infected because somebody. In feudal Korea, everybody's very poor, but they have meat introduced into this one village, and might be a person who is bit by the king, who might be the first zombie in this because they're trying to keep him alive again by zombie magic. So this entire village is then just infected to the degree, and this is fun. Again, I'm not going to give away too much of the plot. But what they do find, should I? This is a really fun part. Okay, this is like I said.
Who's she talking to?
I'm working through it out loud. It's a podcast. I need to. You work out your thoughts out loud. But because I'm trying to think if I should tell you guys certain things.
Sure, go ahead.
Say it in Korean.
Let me let me tell you one of the coolest things about it. So these zombies, they believe in the beginning, they don't know why they're coming alive at night. And that is kind of one of the gimmicks that bad meat. Oh, so close. It happens that the bodies kind of collapse and fall apart when they think it's the sunlight, because they only start moving in the night. What you find out though is that it's heat, and they're going into winter. So it really intensifies about every 2 episodes. Like the stakes get higher, things look more impossible. Like you literally watch the protagonist almost get eaten, running from these zombies to get through these gates for like 2 minutes straight. You're like, oh my God, he almost got ate like 5 times. So
is it very dark? Is it a dark show to watch? Not dark emotionally, dark on the screen. It appears to be.
It's got a lot of politics behind it. You know how like Game of Thrones, they're just fucking talking to each other for like ever. You know, everybody's having a different conversation scene after scene. It's very much like that. And then you have the brutal zombie action. And let me tell you about these freaking extras, or I don't even know what you would call them. And me and Zoe were watching other Korean zombie films because it's a big thing over there. They love them. I'm sure that they love so many things that we also love because we're all human beings. But it is a pretty
we
big...
just brought the world together on Crossing the Stream. So this is like that peace moment.
but yeah, so whoever when you see a zombie extra in a Korean zombie film, they are putting in the work. I don't even know if you could call them extras if they're all stunt people, but there's hundreds. Like there are shots where there's hundreds, just people walking around like falling over each other. Like these are props. These people are like making their bodies into incredibly fun to watch props. Just like because they're dead. They're
dead. Do you know, was the show produced by Netflix or was it purchased by Netflix? And it was already.
It's purchased.
I'm assuming it was purchased. Yeah.
Okay. God, I mean, it sounds crazy. I by the way, I think Fred was asking, like, visually, is it visually dark?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like when you're visually.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's in the night, but I mean, it's lit as well as any other movie. Or are you guys?
You remember all the complaints of Game of Thrones about it?
Well, I'll tell you that.
No.
The Asian.
Yeah, that's right.
The Asian level of cinematography.
Oh my God.
Has become so the screenwriting side of it that I study a lot is so simplistic. Because they're trying to sell it to an American.
Yeah,
this is where the money is. You know, we all know that this is where you want to make your film, and the cinematography of it has become grown because of that. Mm-hmm. Because the director is taking over, and the screenwriter isn't as existent. It's not all about him.
That's funny that you say that about how they did, because I do feel like I grasped it, even though. It was very Game of Thronesian in the way that, like, and this I always had a problem. I didn't finish Game of Thrones, but one of the problems I had, which a lot of people had, was keeping tabs on who's who. There's so many characters introduced, and they're all political or like part of the kingdom hierarchy for the most part, except for like a couple, like a nurse and stuff. So it's like they're all they're chief of something, they're king or like whatever their different, like whatever those statuses were. And so, just to know that, like, how the zombies work and what the threats are, like, that's what we needed to know. And basically the goal is pretty clear that the prince protagonist, he's like, he's at the forefront of the poster there. He rightfully deserves the throne, both like within the status that he is, because they're trying to keep his father alive and they're being deceptive. But oh God, look at these costumes. Oh, here we can. Oh, geez. So these hats, they're like mesh. I'm like, how were they making these clothes back then? I love watching all of these costumes. They're fantastic.
That's a talent.
Talk about cinematography in a set. That is it is very fun to watch. It's gorgeous. It really is like it's zombie Game of Thrones from Korea. Like really. So if you like any of those things, then please. Go right ahead.
And
like that stuff.
Half the actors in it have Ho in their name, and that's interesting.
Okay.
And my
I don't
favorite
know if you're
one.
Kidding or not?
No, I'm not. My favorite one is Jun Suk-ho. I like Jun Suk-ho.
No one's gotta.
Well, I mean, and I don't mean to cut you off, Fred, but this just in. Casey Ryan Fly was on the fence, but you got me, Jess. Costume Vince.
Oh, good. Oh.
CRP is sold now. Yes.
Oh, yes.
No.
So, all right.
I really appreciate it.
Well, you know what? That was excellent. I might check that one out. That one sounds a lot better than the Wagon Train one from Africa. Wagon Train.
If you don't want to read, then maybe skip that on that night. But
I don't mind reading.
Okay.
All right. So keeping with the theme of dubbed shows, we're going to talk about Money Heist.
Yes.
Spanish show. Last week we talked about a French show dubbed in English. Now we're at Money Heist. Ron Lippett, take us away.
Thank you, brother. La Casa de Papel. That's actually the real name of the show, La Casa de Papel, which was Englishized into Money Heist. I actually just stumbled onto this show. My buddy Brian, Jeff and my buddy Brian, forced me to watch this. It's a Spanish language thriller from 2017, and it's soon to be released 5th season next year. And you know what? What's interesting is for those of you that don't like subtitles, I don't mind doing subtitles myself because this is a Spanish language show, but this actually has extraordinarily good English dubbing, which I'm shocked to actually say that because I don't think any.
I didn't even try the English dubbing for mine.
I think dubbing sucks in general, but I just have to say, my mom of all people was the one saying you should check out the dubbing on this. I don't know how they did the dubbing, but it actually is extraordinary. So it's so for what it's worth. If you just don't like subtitles, you can still watch this show and I think get the same experience. So,
I agree with you. I've watched the first few episodes of this. I don't know why I didn't continue, but the dubbing was.
There are a few Netflix shows I just forgot to finish.
I will admit I watched the first episode and I bailed on it because it's a lot to take in. The subtitles are fast moving. They're kind of tiring a little bit. But I gave it another watch when a couple other people happened to mention it to me because they knew I was doing this show. And I breezed through the season. It really picks up momentum. The show was created by a guy named Alex Pina, who you've never heard of, so don't pretend like you did. He's a Spanish screenwriter, and the only thing that's interesting about this guy is the dude went from a screenwriter to starting his own company called Vancouver Media in 2017. And check this out: his very first production, starting his own show, his very first production was Money Heist, and it turns out to be literally one of the biggest hits in Netflix history. How about this for a statistic? I looked it up for today's show. This past year's season, 4th season, was 37 times more watched than the average streamed show in the United States.
In the United States, huh?
Yeah, it beat out other shows internationally like Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, and Westworld.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Their 4th season was a bigger show than all of those big shows internationally. And then here in the United States, it's picking up huge steam. So it's been an amazing growth curve.
Mick wanted to watch it, Ron, but his wife, I don't think, would let him.
Oh, Mick, come on, brother. I don't know which part of that to unpack. But it's been on a growth curve, and it's like really impressive for a show that, I mean, just speaking for myself, I'd never even heard of a year ago.
And I haven't either. I've never heard of this.
Me neither.
Well, it's big in Europe and it's getting to be big in the United States. So if you haven't heard of it yet, I promise you're going to be hearing about it.
Well, it's fascinating. It says 4 million viewers watched the premiere in May of 2017, and that's before Netflix.
That's pretty impressive. And Netflix, distributed this show. They didn't build it. They didn't make it. They bought it, and so they bought the distribution rights on Netflix. And so I think that this guy, this Alex Pina, really stumbled onto something and got his arms around something that I think he knew was going to be big, which is impressive for a guy doing his very first show.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, it is an interesting show. It's one of those shows. It's like an onion. You keeps peeling back layers. And it keeps revealing things.
It's true,
and things and motivations as it goes. It's not
totally
linear
true.
At all.
I'm going to do just a quick rundown on it. It's the show centers around a team who designed an impossible plan of robbing the Royal Bank of Spain, essentially the Spanish Mint, which is, as we all know, that's an impossible thing to think. There's no way you can rob a mint. But the team is led by a character called the Professor, who is outside and is with the team purely electronically and over the phone. And he's been planning this heist for years and years and years. And because the dude is so detailed and so specific in like everything he does, that he is able to forecast how the government, the police, the city is going to respond every step of the way. And the story unfolds with all the twists and turns of how he's able to stay one step ahead of the police because he puts so much thought into the design of this caper. Right. So even as the viewer, it's exhausting because as the viewer, you believe the whole thing is about to come crashing down. And just like Jeff said, it becomes another onion layer where you realize that this has been planned out also.
They had like a small handful of those in Breaking Bad, and we're all like getting our rocks off. So it sounds like
even speaking of him using the onion layering, this guy, I'm looking him up now, who you're talking about. There's a new Money Heist coming out, and it's Money Heist Korea. He's now creating it into other countries.
It's amazing.
This whole Money Heist.
It's so smart, Fred. It's just so well done. There's a really interesting array of characters that are the robbers, some of whom you root for. Others are more of issues about like staying with the plan, the master plan, which is, part of the drama of the show because people are human and we all go through moments of like faith where we're not sure if everything is as it's supposed to be or is it falling apart. And like almost like faith in the plan becomes its own character in the show. And one of the other parts of it is none of the robbers know each other. They all have adopted names of major cities as their code names. So like one of the main characters is Tokyo, and she's this amazingly likable but also crazy unhinged actor named Ursula Corbero. You don't know who she is, so don't pretend like you did. She's smoking hot, but also one of the main protagonists in the show. The antagonist is a single mother police inspector who like sees like the apprehension of this gang as like a personal redemption for all the things she's given up in her own life and being a crappy mother and being a crappy family person and all this stuff. So the show really centers on the back and forth between this police investigator and the professor who speak to each other over the course of the show over the phone because, he's in the mint supposedly. And she's the police inspector trying to apprehend all of them, but they have a whole bunch of hostages and there's explosives and they got the whole building rigged to blow up. And it's a giant cat and mouse game that is layered and layered and layered and super intelligent and a really intense story. So highly recommend. And I think that if you can get through that first episode, because it is kind of Games of Thrones-ish, that you got to kind of get to know the characters. And it does require a little bit of work. But once you do the work, you will find yourself super pumped up about kind of where this is going. Yeah. And
those shows are satisfying.
It really is very satisfying.
I'm pumped over it. I mean, there's also there's a documentary on it also available on Netflix called The Phenomenon of Money Heist.
Whoa.
So they have their own documentary.
So Fred, are you looking these up right now or have you heard of this?
No, I'm looking them up as we go. I got screens everywhere.
It's becoming a cottage industry, this thing, apparently. All right. It's like, there's something hypnotic about this show. First off, it's beautiful. And I don't know what it is about Spain. It's, the whole Spanish thing and the way they communicate with each other and the cinematography is excellent. The production values are excellent. The cutaways are really great. The music is great. It's just a really well designed show. It's like what you want in a mystery thriller kind of exciting kind of show like that.
Hey, Ron, I know you guys aren't watching the news, but there's some late breaking news I wanted to break in with. Casey Reinblatt says, this sounds muy bueno. He's Peña Vince, but then he realized it's really Peña Vince. Thank you.
It's good. It makes me want to watch, like, I don't know about you guys, but like the movie Heist and like Dog Day Afternoon and like all these classic movies about bank robberies and well thought out plans. And like, I love shows like that.
It's sexy. It's completely sexy. Bank robberies and art heists.
Yeah.
Are
even
so
Ocean's
sexy.
11, even Ocean's 11, as crappy as that was still a good movie. It was still fun to watch.
Ocean's 11 was great. It was Ocean's 12 that was crappy.
Yeah, but hold on. The best part about Ocean's 12 is if you watch at the beginning, it's my hometown because the screenwriter's from here, and
Oh.
it says East Haven, Connecticut. When it's those two in there, he's at the jewelry store buying her something in downtown where I live. So that's the coolest part about it.
That is pretty cool.
Coolest part.
You know what else is cool? If we take a moment, we've done this now 10 times. And Ron, so thank you. Thank Fred and Jess for being with us on our 10th.
That's fantastic.
It's our 10th anniversary. Yeah, and then we have Bob says we all look great and he misses us.
Oh,
Bob, meet Fred. He took
Bobby,
your
we
place.
miss you, buddy.
Hi, Bob.
Bobby, we miss you.
We miss you, Bob. Bob's had a Wi-Fi issue.
I almost wore a suit tonight.
That would have been appreciated. Well, I can't believe it. We're at the end of another episode. Thank you guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We appreciate everyone tuning in and all the comments and all that good stuff. Special thanks, of course, to our guests. Jerry says you can go back anytime, Jess. And special thanks again to our guests, Fred and Jess. So, Fred, say goodbye. Say goodnight, Fred.
Good night, Fred. I love you, Jeff. I love you.
I love you too.
You're my favorite Jew.
Thank you.
Nice. There's so many to choose from.
I know that is.
It was either him or Jesus. I went with him.
Jess, say goodnight, Jess.
Good night. Good night.
All right, Ron, say goodnight.
Yeah, good night, guys. Fred and Jess, great meeting you. Great doing a show with you. Jeff,
too.
Congratulations on your 10th show, brother.
Well, this is our 10th show, brother. Thank you. And thanks to everyone who was a part of Crossing the Streams. Thanks for visiting us week after week. Check out Fred's podcast. Check out Jess on YouTube. Check out my podcast. Check it all out. We're going to see you next week when we cross more streams. What? Thank you for joining us for this episode of Crossing the Streams, brought to you by scenesnobs.com and part of the Jeff Dwoskin Show. Your hosts, of course, Jeff Dwoskin, Sal D'Amelio, Bob Phillips, Ron Lippett, and Howard Rosner. Follow us all on the socials, and we'll see you next week and every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendars. We're going live and crossing more streams.